Hey guys, Unique Waysman here. I've been experiencing a really downward slope of content creation recently. I can promise y'all that I'm doing a lot behind the scenes, but I can't say much on that yet. But, you know, the community's dying. A lot behind the scenes, but I can't say much on that yet. But, you know, the community's dying, really. I'm just experiencing a lack of motivation.
Hey guys, Unique Waysman here.
We've done it, ladies and gentlemen.
What the fuck?
Hey guys, Unique Waysman here. Gotta like tape the side of my mic to my headset because it kept falling off. Also, randomly in the video you're gonna see the sun get brighter. That's because I had to do a little bit of reshoots. I'll explain that later. But yes, I am the router of Polar Exploration's bonus, level 37 of co-creation. And despite all of Minimax's numerous desperate efforts to keep me out of their game, I eventually made it. Big surprise, never mind. I kinda knew I was gonna be in the game eventually and have my own level. Dog, y'all don't even know, I wanted to have my own co-creation level in Rolling Sky for over a year now, and especially I saw people like Junipie and Frogby and Games Legend, people with zero connections get in, and I thought, hey, maybe I actually have a chance to get my own level in the game. Unfortunately, I was like the last person Minimax wanted to work with because I'm a firm believer that if the Minimax friends and co-creation routers get to have early access to information and special tools, so does everyone else. It's fair for everyone. So I leaked a lot of early information and I tried to get the Minimax level editor APKs, and I just love nothing more than to poke fun at all these Minimax, Gremlin, Gensh, and Impact gooners and just watch them scramble for stupid ass excuses to justify their stupid actions. And granted, let's be honest here, I'm kind of an asshole, but again, like just the complete lack of social stamina in these people is just crazy, and they don't even try to hide it. He has no friends. He says it himself all the time. But one day, I'm trying to get the editor APK from another Minimax gooner called Jet9, router of Radiant Shadow, and instead of giving the editor APK to me, he says fuck you and reports me, and then I get permanently banned from participating in the game ever again. But I'm actually not mad that I was banned from the game because there are so many other things that I was able to do that I would have been able to do if I had worked alongside Minimax in the rules like a little Minimax Glazer puppy dog Genshin Impact player. Because it turns out there's actually a few people within Minimax who agree with my opinions and are willing to work with me on their levels, and so I was able to participate in not one, not two, but 4 different levels before even starting. So of course then you're probably asking, how the fuck did I get into co-creation if I was banned? And the answer, ladies and gentlemen, is that I didn't. Galdone did. You see, I made the realization that because I had taken the risk of becoming a Minimax op, Declan Hugo was now no longer allowed to participate in the official game. So, how did I get around Minimax's rigorous and strict router evaluation system? A man named Galdone got in, and then he just let me take his place. Because as it turns out, Minimax's strict and rigorous router evaluation system is complete dog shit. Because all this man Galdone had to do was become friends with one influential person, and he was allowed into the game. He has no YouTube channel, no Bilibili channel, 0 router experience. And Minimax said, oh yeah, let's get this guy in the game, because why not? You know, everyone give it up for Minimax. Round of applause. Minimax, you really outdid yourselves here. In your stupidity, that is. But you see, ladies and gentlemen, is that as much as I like to shit talk Minimax about their incompetence and stupidity, what I don't mention often is that I take advantage of their stupidity for my own benefit, and this is no greater example. The reason why my Sugarfall level didn't get accepted into co-creation is because I tried to apply and then they said, well no, we need router experience, and I couldn't give it to them because I was Declan Hugo. But for Galdone, he just applied without any experience and he got in. And then he realized, hey, I don't actually know how to make a fucking level. Let me ask my friend Declan Hugo. So he let me take his spot, he let me log on to his Discord account so I could communicate with Kevin and the other Minimax beta testers to optimize this level to their requirements. And so, here's my co-creation level. So in this video, I will show you numerous early versions and walk you through the long, rigorous process of designing this level. Would I ever make my own co-creation level again? Absolutely fucking not. Making this level was really fun, don't get me wrong, but like, the amount of changes Minimax forced on this level, especially coupled with their broken, disheveled English and incoherent and contradictory responses, it just made it an absolute nightmare to build this level. And it got to the point where they were going to delete my entire level only a couple days before release. Before we start this video, I want to let you know that this video is not here to tell you that you should like the level, it's just here to show you the process of why I made certain decisions that are very unconstitutional and have never been done before. A lot of the Minimax Minimax beta testers absolutely despised this level. They want it to be thrown in the garbage, and I'm sure a lot of other players in the game will agree with them. And you're allowed to have that opinion, but this level is the best representation of me, and if you don't like that, that's alright. But without any further ado, my fellow Loona lovers, let us dive into the production hell that is co-creation level 37, Polar Night Wandering. So the way I like to plan levels is to listen to the song first and then decide the theme changes and then divide them into equally long sections. So in the end, I had section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4, section 5, section 6, and finally section 7. And there were 4 main things that I wanted to do for this level before even starting it. Firstly, I wanted to use this pile of rocks from Starlight Desert. I know it sounds like a random thing to add into your level, but this object is one of, if not the most neglected object in the entirety of co-creation. It is used one time at the end of Starlight Desert, and you can't even touch it without using a flight power-up. And then it's barely noticeable in Firefly Valley because it uses it at the beginning, and then poof, never again, goodbye, see ya. And then it also happened to fit really well into the natural environment of the South Pole, so I decided I'm gonna use that fucking thing. The second thing is that I'm sure a lot of you are wondering why the second to last theme uses completely different objects from the rest of the level, and that's because of my original pre-level plan, that being, number 2, I wanted to dedicate one theme to being an Arctic base theme. I just thought it'd be a good world building idea for the majority of the level to take place in the natural South Pole, and then have one section be an Arctic research base where there weren't any natural animals or rocks, but instead there were a bunch of technological man-made obstacles. And this is also why you only see humans in specific parts of the level. You're not going to find them running around like fucking animals, you're going to find them here at the research bases. And the third thing that I knew I absolutely had to use was the basement mechanic. The basement mechanic is by far the most creative mechanic ever developed by Minimax, and even though I really don't like Enchanted Lamp, I was absolutely blown away by the bold choice for Minimax to code something I never would have trusted them to code. And for the most part, the basement mechanic functions surprisingly really well. It's got basement collectibles, basement obstacles, and the way the ball goes in and out of the basement is smooth and readable. And the only issue I have with this basement mechanic is that it is just barely used in the game. This really well developed mechanic hasn't been used since July of last year, all the way back in Ginny, and it's just so poetic that the level I got happened to be a polar themed level where the basement works perfectly as a layer of ice that you can roll over or fall through and roll under. And then as for number 4, you'll see. And so I just threw myself into it and began working on the level, and let me tell you, it was not great, because I experienced some major creativity blocks when first starting this level, and this is the first sign that shit was not going to be easy. In my opinion, the hardest part of making a level is starting it, because you're still getting used to the objects and you have no idea what kind of style you want the level to be. And again, I actually started my level before Sneak 22 started the main level, so I had zero basis on what to do with these objects. And so the first version you'll see here just consists of nonsensical, dry-ass basic lefts and rights with unreadable moving tiles and shitty-ass collectibles. And it's even more frustrating because I just come off the back of building my Sugarfall level, which was super easy for me to do. I tried tweaking section 1 many times, but ultimately it ended up having the exact same flaws, and the usage of this basement was honestly just a terrible reintroduction to the mechanic. Like, you can't side read this shit at all, and don't even get me started with the neon power-up I tried to throw in there. And why I decided to use these stars in this part is just beyond me. I low-key just ran out of ideas. So eventually I just gave up trying to tweak this part and decided to push through and finish the rest of section 2 by trying to build this ice glacier part for a crown route, but it also ended up looking completely dog shit. So I quickly scrapped this part as well. And then, finally, all of a sudden, I just had the surge of creativity I was waiting for this whole time. I don't know how I got it back, I just did. And then I built all of section 2 and 3 in literally less than an hour. It's mostly standard gameplay, but in my opinion, it is a massive step up from what came before, because I used a lot more different moving tiles, and it was the first time I started using other objects like the seals coming out of the ground and the Starlight Desert rocks I was talking about earlier. And then I made this sick-ass first crown route. Let me introduce you to what I like to call the Dropdown Mechanic. I discovered that if you place a giant column of Enchanted Lamp jump pads, the ball will fall and then bounce up at really inconsistent times. Like, sometimes if you bounce it a bunch of times, it'll land back up on the top, but sometimes it won't. It is completely random, and so I decided not to use it. But then I discovered that if you only use 3 of them in a row, the ball will consistently drop and then bounce back up to the top. So when you combine that with extension tiles, you get this cool design where there's literally just holes that you go into and come out of. But yeah, this is just a cool ass crown. And now that my creativity was at a peak, I knew it was time to finally throw myself into the Arctic base. And boy did I cooked so hard, chat. Yeah, so I don't know what happened, but that was some of the most liquid ass routes I think I'd ever concocted, and that's saying a lot considering I made Abyss, Technotica, New Year's Eve, and Virtual Futuristic Network. The biggest issue I have with the Arctic base is that none of the objects have similar designs. They don't look like they're part of the same environment, and they just all looked wrong and broken. And at this point I was low-key considering just like deleting the entire Arctic base. And then I had an idea. I had a batshit crazy idea that no other co-router has ever tried before, and I did not expect this to get into the final level. Spoiler alert, it didn't. But there are a whole bunch of Minimax levels with cameo objects. It started with Lab Confidential, and then it got into Love E, Battle Bastion, Radiant Shadow, Passionate Love, and especially levels like Desolate Area and Melodic Metropolis, where they used multiple cameo objects. And then I thought, where exactly is the limit? There's never actually been a limit established, and Minimax seem to be pretty loose on co-creation considering some of the dog shit I've seen them release over the era, and so I got the most batshit crazy idea and said, let's find out. So I decided to dedicate section 4 to being a Christmas village theme, where I only picked outside level objects that had this orange-yellow design, and I focused a lot on presents and Christmas themed things. So then when I finished this glorious section, I took a step back and I looked over all of it, and I kind of realized that if I was looking at this level made by another person, my reaction would probably be something close to, I'm done with this game. I think now is an appropriate time to talk about one of the most controversial aspects of the early versions, that being my new disappearing mechanic. 5 months ago, I accidentally discovered that if you have a regular floor and attach it to an Egypt auto mover, the instant you activate this mover auto, the tiles and objects connected to it all just turn invisible, regardless of how far away they are from the primary mover arrow. So, I realized that with a single mover arrow, you can make literally anything you want disappear on command. And that allowed me to make this sick-ass theme transition. And I thought, well, Minimax allows bullshit like Bluetooth movers, and they also allow the double-use movers, so why wouldn't they allow these? So, I decided to use them 3 different times in the level. At the end of the Christmas village, at the first crown, and then later I recreated this cool theme transition effect at the start of the Christmas theme. And I also added extension tiles here so that it would look like only the obstacles disappeared, but the tiles still stayed there. So it looked like the bunnies basically got blasted into fuck all by the lasers. As you know, I'm a firm believer that you should not take what people understand about basic fundamental aspects of the game and change them. And so I made sure that all uses of this makeshift mechanic that I had created were mandatory, so now these disappearing objects in the eyes of the player are no different than other disappearing tiles. But after making this first draft of the Christmas section, since I was in the swing of making routes, I decided to just continue onward into section 5, with nothing special, just going back to the natural polar design from the first 3 sections, and I definitely say this is the most normal and arguably the most high quality section of the level. And now that I was back here, at the Arctic base, it was time to really lock the fuck in and completely change the routes and my use of objects in order to make the section feel more believable, where the objects have similar enough designs, and I'd say for the most part, it turned out alright. While I still believe that the basement mechanic is Minimax's most ambitious and impressive mechanic, Robotoy's mechanic is the most fun. And let's be real here, just like the basement mechanic, the Robotoy mechanic is probably going to get abandoned and never used again in a significant way. And it fits perfectly with the man-made high-tech aesthetic of the Arctic base theme, so I decided to use it. I also wanted to finally bring back the volcano and city towers and add to this high-tech aesthetic. These things haven't been used since E-Labyrinth, which is crazy. And once I was done with the section, I figured it would be an appropriate time to build the final section of Polar Night Wandering. I wanted to make it a combination of every single object that I had used throughout the level. But let me introduce y'all to the main thing that I've wanted to do since before the level. This is the 4th main goal, which I set off to do before the level even started, and I like to call this the clicking tile mechanic. These are clicking tiles. They are tiles that quickly move one space over. And these are obstacles on top of moving tiles. What I'm doing here is I'm simply putting obstacles on top of clicking tiles. And the hidden mechanic to make all of this work is none other than Bluetooth movers. You see, I still stand by the fact that if movers activate without touching, they're breaking fundamental aspects of the game, because every single level before Melodic Metropolis never once activated them without them touching. And again, it's still coded into the game, because even if you want to make Bluetooth movers in the official game, you're forced to create invisible movers that still end up touching. The reason why I'm fine using these mover autos in this mechanic is because the mechanic isn't presented as a mover combination. It's presented as obstacles on top of moving tiles. Pressing the activator arrow is always mandatory, so it's not like you can choose to change the route based on where you go, unlike Moonlit or Sugarfall. So with all that yapping out of the way, I quickly realized that this final section just kind of looks like a mess. Like, it did combine all the objects used throughout the level, but it also combined all the problems throughout, because all the New Year objects still felt weird as fuck with their unique color scheme, and none of the designs fit together. But either way, Kevin said that the deadline was before Sunday, February 23rd, so I decided to just go ahead and submit the level because I knew it wasn't going to get accepted. And I was not surprised or mad when Kevin, the foreign Minimax co-creation representative, approached me and came back with one simple commandment. At the start of the video, I said how their contradictory responses made it an absolute nightmare to finish. And the very first time they started responding to my submissions is the moment these ridiculous contradictory rules became so apparent to me. Because the one thing that Kevin and the beta testers said back to me was, remove all non-polar objects. At first, yeah, this rule makes sense. All of these New Year objects did look like pure unfiltered psychedelic liquid ass, and while I did want my level to be unique and stand out, this was definitely crossing the line a little bit. But then you continue reading their feedback and you realize that I'm just going to stop you right here and say that if your brain is of sound mind and is capable of basic functional reasoning, then it's probably going to want to game end itself by the end of this video, because this, my fellow Diane droolers, is where I begin to enter the downward spiral of mental instability and cognitive impairment. Right after they say to remove all non-polar objects, they say,
if you need to use non-polar objects, please provide us a list so that we can check if the textures are appropriate.
Okay, so absolutely no non-polar objects, right? But you can also use some non-polar objects. So I can't, but I also can? Okay, fine, I don't know what that fucking means, but okay, I'll list out the idea of every single object I want to use. In my list, I included forest trees, because, I mean, come the fuck on, they're trees, they fit perfectly in the environment, they're a good replacement for all the New Year objects I have to delete, and a shit ton of other levels use them. So I sent Kevin the list that he was persistently asking for, and, I mean, kinda, he responded. This response is just like in line with pretty much everything Kevin says, okay, because he will always acknowledge like 10% of what you actually say, and then the other 90% he just like doesn't even process it through his tiny little Minimax Gooner brain. When you're sending a prompt to ChatGPT and you accidentally click enter a little bit early and then it gives you an answer to something that you don't want because you only managed to type up 10% of it, that is what it's like every single day talking with this guy Kevin. So again, he repeats like the NPC he is,
please remove all non-polar objects gameplay.
But, Kevin, I did. I removed it when you asked me to. And now I come to you with the list that you asked for, and your response is just, back what you originally said? Bitch, can I use other objects in the level or not? Guys, we're one demo in, and I'm actually about to lose my shit. March 6th? Okay, oh my god, Kevin. I'll play your stupid game, alright? Are you happy now? Because if you're not going to actually tell me which objects I can and can't use, which you specifically told me to ask of you, then I'm going to use which objects I want to use. I'm going to force you to answer a yes or no. Throughout the history of Minimax, it's always been common practice, both in and out of co-creation, to bring back old mechanics. So I figured, why not bring this old thing back? It's pretty useless, so I made some simple but effective uses for it, and combined with the chromatic effect before the transition into the Christmas village, or at least what was of it, it makes this transition even cooler. I replaced all the New Year objects with trees and Nirvana hammers. I brought back the Tesla Tower because, again, it was an object which people hadn't seen since Sci-Tech, and it fits well with the Arctic base high-tech aesthetic. And I tweaked the end of the third crown a bit. And then I added a bunch of checkpoints. Super easy tweaks, and now we're ready to finalize the level. Oh wait! Because, in a surprise twist event, Minimax rejected it. Again, jeepers golly gee. I wonder what new and phantasmagorical changes they want to make now. Well folks, it's all here in this snazzy Word document. I'm sorry guys, just downward spiral. Downward spiral. Well, at least they were clear about which objects I can use. So let me get this straight. Code creation has used Ignite Lasergate, Riser, Stomper, Chromatic Effect, Slashers, Sci-Tech Lasers, Radio Tower, Animated Background Effects, the goddamn Reggae Bridge, Microchip Laser Barrier. But Polar Bonus can't use anything? So now I have to delete the risers, the trees, the reggae spikes, fireplace, present pile, all fireworks, the chrono slowdown effect, the chromatic effect, spotlights, all animated background effects, the starlight desert rocks, the Nirvana hammers, and worst of all, I have to delete the Robotoy Mechanic. Okay, so Kevin, quick question. How the fuck do I actually delete Robotoy Mechanic? See, I don't know if you actually played the game or not, but if you looked at Robotoy or Accumulator, you would instantly understand that the Robotoy Mechanic is intertwined with the gameplay. It's not like you can just delete it and replace it with something else. It's a unique mechanic. If I delete the Robotoy Mechanic, then you'll just have a bunch of empty side routes that serve no purpose. This is something I asked Kevin about multiple times, and all he ever responded with was,
just follow the instructions.
"Stupid bitch, you can't just simply delete the mechanic. It will ruin the entire route." Huh? All the New Year shit is gone. It's not even a Christmas level anymore. What do y'all want from me? I gotta delete this shit now. Great. And I gotta delete this shit now. Great. Ooh, ha. I guess one more demo can't hurt. So, I deleted everything they told me to delete. I added an indicator here and I removed some moving tiles. And this is the moment where I started to develop a new strategy to counteract Minimax's bullshit requirements. Any cool object or mechanism that Minimax didn't tell me to change in the previous version, I would just use more of it in the new version as a replacement for all the stuff I had to delete. Because again, I'm still following their rules, and this is allowed. So, because these tiles weren't allowed to collide, I decided to just use more drop downs here, just as a replacement. And by this point, a beta tester showed me Sneak's Polar Main level, so now I knew I was able to use Chieftain Rock, Risers, Relic's Fireplace, and this Midnight Carnival thing. And then Kevin also clarified that I could use these objects. I swapped out all the New Year tiles with pivoting tiles from World Cup, and then to make up for the quickly diminishing uniqueness of the Arctic base, I decided to add Sci-Tech Lasers. An object, by the way, which Kevin said I was explicitly allowed to use. So once again, all the requirements were fulfilled, and they were finished on time. And then this was the version that got released into the game. Just kidding, because now the beta testers don't like the Dropdown Mechanic and they want it gone. It existed all the way since Demo 1. Why did Minimax not point it out until just now? Don't know. But now they hate it all of a sudden, so now it's gotta go. You know what else has to go? Nirvana hammers. I thought Minimax liked reviving old objects, but I guess not this time. Whoopity-doo. The Starlight object has to go too. And who the fuck calls it Radiant Sand Sea? The Robotoy Mechanic. Again, Kevin, I told you that's not possible because it's interwoven into the route. And you know what blows my mind? The beta testers sent me a new list of IDs they wanted removed. Guys, majority of this shit is already gone. Kevin, you literally just said I could use Sci-Tech Lasers, and they're literally used in Melodic Metropolis. Y'all just said I could use Risers, and there are no more trees. Okay, so they want the Phantom Thief spotlights gone as well. Weren't they used as cameo objects before? I can't remember, can you? Bro, why y'all making me remove firework? It's just a goddamn firework. But again, everything else is already gone. How did y'all not realize this? Did y'all actually watch the fucking level? I follow all their rules, and then they still manage to pull even more rules out of their ass and complain about things that were there long before, and they never said anything about any of that until the last fucking second. Kevin, you said I could use Sci-Tech Lasers.
You can fix it now.
What about the objects you already approved?
Don't use these.
Kevin, do you want me to remove just the 2 drop-down mechanics you screenshotted, or should I remove all of them?
You can.
Yeah, Kevin, you already fucking said that. You don't have to repeat it verbatim a second time. That wasn't the answer to my question. Like what level of clinical retardation do you even call this? And I know this isn't just a me thing, because time and time again, I saw people, foreign and Chinese, talking about how mentally slow in the head Kevin was, and I never fully understood that until I started working on this level. And I have 2 days to complete all of these changes. Gee, thanks for pointing out all this shit at the very last second, Minimax, when you could have pointed it out weeks ago. Love it. Okay, on to demo 4. This better be my last one.
Let's go, let's go.
The Dropdown Mechanic is gone. The Nirvana hammers are gone. The sand from Radiant Sand Sea is gone. Side tech lasers are gone. I didn't plan for this to happen, but now this is a 15 gem level. It's the 4th 15 gem level in the game, and it's the first 15 gem level of co-creation. And I did this because I decided to substitute the Robotoy batteries with gems, since it was the only way to delete the mechanic entirely without butchering the routes entirely. I wonder what changes they'll make up this time. Oh my god, there's nothing. He gave me nothing to change. Sure, there's a few things left, but wow, all the major changes are done. Huh, maybe Kevin ain't so bad after all. Ain't no way they actually said, we're done with all the major changes, and then immediately hit me with this ton of fuck. Now I have to completely delete my disappearing mechanic. We can have all the Bluetooth and double movers we want, but these, no, these are game breaking. They gotta go. Oh, why do y'all even care about this shit? Fine, I'll fix it. Okay, Minimax, you already told me to fix this, and I did. Look at the level. Why does this part even need an extension tile? The door pillar already hides the missing tile. The fuck does this even mean? Okay, so not only do they want all the disappearing movers to go away, using invisible Egypt tiles to connect to visible plates is also not allowed for some reason. Again, guys, another example of Minimax telling me to change something at the last second, even though they could have pointed all this out since demo 1. Y'all are so stupid. Like, if you simply look at the level, you'll see that there aren't even any blocks in the way. How do y'all even manage to complain about shit that doesn't even exist? So I pointed out all these things, and as per usual, none of Kevin's responses actually addressed anything I said. I just gave up trying to argue against these people. I followed all their rules. I added invisible hitboxes to stop the player from going over this void, and I changed this part, and the special disappearing mechanic I had made was entirely gone. Was it now finally time to submit the level into the next update?
No.
So basically, they took my regular hitbox fix and they said fuck you and told me I wasn't allowed to do that. So I had to change the bridge again. The only reason I ever used these invisible Egypt tiles is so that I could hide the arrows, and unfortunately Minimax was really picky about that. But they said that making the arrow visible was only a suggestion and not a requirement. So then of course I just decided to ignore it. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is that every single time I submit a level to Minimax, I can't unsubmit it. They keep telling me that they unsubmit these demos so that I can edit them, but they never actually do it. So every single time Kevin and the beta testers come back with more last minute changes I have to do, I have to copy the entire routes into a new file and manually place down every single theme change and checkpoint. It's an absolute pain to do, and I've had to do it 5 times already, and I'm gonna have to do it every single time after this as well. Did I say after this? Because yeah, Minimax still isn't fucking done.
There are still some areas that need to be modified. We have had some misunderstanding due to translation issues.
Minimax, please, just let me be. This has nothing to do with translation errors. This is a result of your poor planning and the beta testers' never-ending slew of last-minute changes that they could have told me to make several weeks beforehand. And what do you know? They tell me to delete these rolling seals, which have been in this spot since Demo 1. Okay, so this is just plain stupid. Kevin was complaining about how I deleted the laser cannon's hitbox, and I had to do that because the laser would have killed the player, even if the player was rolling under the laser. When I proved this to Kevin, he eventually backed down and let me keep the laser in the spot that it was. Kevin also made up this rule where blocks have to have tiles underneath them, and all I had to do to counteract that was send a single screenshot of a part in Circus, and then immediately Kevin just stepped down from that. The fact I know more about the mechanics of the game than a literal paid game manager is just embarrassing. So now, we're finally done! Well, now that I had to make yet another demo, I actually found a perfect substitute for my original Dropdown Mechanic, and this time, Minimax didn't bother to say anything about it. So, that got to stick into the final version. Kevin, you're not slick. I already caught you lying about this block thing that you just made up on the spot, but because I'm tired of you and the beta testers' bullshit, I just want to get this level done. I'll delete these blocks. Are you happy now? Apparently not. Because we got more tweaks we gotta do now. Kevin, you do realize that this clipping issue wouldn't exist if Minimax simply coded the jump pad animation properly. But because they didn't, the jump pad is now visible when it's not supposed to be. And only now y'all are telling me that there's a bug with my first checkpoint, a bug that has existed since Demo 2. But of course, y'all wasted all that time until now before bringing it up, when I'm making Demo 9. The only two things I had to change were both bugs that Minimax could easily fix at any time if they so pleased to, but they choose not to. Kevin, let this stop. Make this stop. I'm at Demo 9. Every single time I submit a new version, I have to be up in the middle of the night to cater to Minimax's time zone. I am sleep deprived. I have lost all physical and mental energy to move forward. I've had fun making this level, but with every single demo, y'all are just sucking the life out of me. Please, let this be the final version. Yep. Nope.
Chicken jockey!
Kevin, this is a deliberate and necessary choice in order to prevent the player from cheating. Yeah, what the fuck ever. I give up. I'll just delete it. Here's Demo 10. Okay, hit me with the next wave of requirements. Kevin? Kevin? Oh. I'm done. I'm actually done. I'm like actually fucking done. 2 months, 3 alphas, and 10 demos, and hours upon hours of my life lost over making this goddamn level. This is by far the longest edited video I've ever had to make, by the way. And I wanted to release this video as soon as the update came out, but I'm being dead ass when I say that I was working on this shit for 48 hours straight, with like 5 hours of sleep in between. It was painful, it was insufferable, but it was worth it. But it was worth it because I fully expected this messy and unorthodox level to become unanimously hated by the community, but like y'all really surprised me. I was willing to go down in infamy and shame, but the community's support for the level, especially with some even saying that it carried the update, y'all made all those grueling hours working on this level all the more worth it in the end. Maybe Minimax might have my level entirely replaced, or they might even ban me from their servers, but at the end of the day, I'm really happy that I got to make an enjoyable level for y'all. It was a lot of fun, and I've said this time and time again, there's only one unique Ways man, and you're looking right at him. And trust me, my fellow Loona lovers, y'all have not seen the last of me. Okay, I'm done. I'm so fucking done with this level. I'm so done with this video. I hope y'all have a great day. Goodbye.